our first round rules. Pretty simple here. A great take nets you 200 points. A good take 100 points. An okay take gives you 50 points, and a bad take 0 points for any of these panelists. Let's move to our first segment. The Buffalo Bills. I don't know what you want to call it. Just rammed, so to speak, the Miami Dolphins by a final score 48-20 in Orchard Park. Josh Allen was absolutely spectacular in the game. Put up a perfect passer rating. Two of the Miami Dolphins offense struggled, particularly in the second half, and certainly their defense was quite abysmal, but you got to give credit to Buffalo as well, just putting points on the board. It seemed like they scored every time they touched the football. So I'll start with you first, Adam. Was this game more about what Buffalo did or what Miami didn't do?
I think this game is more about what Buffalo has been doing, coming off of this is their third game winning, so they're kind of on that train. You shouldn't have counted out Josh Allen when he's showing up. I don't think it necessarily stopped the hype train for the Miami Dolphins. They're still a very solid team, fastest team right now in the NFL. So I'm going to know that this hasn't stopped the train. It's just Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and the crew, they're showing up, and it's a solid defense. So you play against good teams. It's not any given Sunday you can win or lose. So for me, it didn't stop the hype train for the Miami Dolphins. It just shows that the Bills should not be counted out this year, which everyone after the first game was.
Listen, I was counting them out before the season even started, so thus far I'm dead wrong on Buffalo. And Josh Allen is in the last 3 weeks is strong case you can make. He's first in basically every major quarterback stat, and then the defense has been outstanding. It looks like they're getting Von Miller back pretty soon, so very happy times in the city of Buffalo right now. To you, Dalton. Dalton's a Rams fan, but he's wearing a Bills hat today in preparation, I guess, for this very segment. So, Dalton, I'm gonna ask you: did this stop the Miami Dolphins hype train? What Buffalo did to them on Sunday?
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. For me, the Miami Dolphins hype train has kind of been the same as it was last season for me. I think it's a team with a really good offense, a team that's just okay on defense. I think there are a lot of weapons there. It's a fun team to watch, but we haven't seen – there's no real evidence that they've passed Buffalo in that division. Buffalo's beaten them 10 out of the last 11 times they've played them dating back to 2018. This was more of the same. The yardage was close. A lot of the stats were close, but Miami 3 for 13 on third and fourth downs combined. Buffalo's defense, even with injuries, missing guys, still found a way to get off the field consistently when it needed to. And that's what we've seen from Buffalo in this series with Miami. They're one team that has found a way to put guys over the top where they need to and stop Miami's speed. So until Miami shows that they can deal with what McDermott throws out there on defense, this is Buffalo's series and this is Buffalo's division.
Yeah, and it felt like they got obviously a running game going pretty consistently. Again, Josh Allen was accurate, didn't turn the football over, and Stephon Diggs was spectacular. And the shock for me, I think, was the fact that, and I know it's a new system, and there's no Jalen Ramsey, but Vic Fangio was sort of this big time acquisition for them as their new defensive coordinator. And thus far, they haven't exactly blown anybody's socks off through any of the first 4 games of the season, including against New England, who we know has a terrible offense. We'll get into them more later. To Alfred now, again, as an AFC East guy, as a Jets fan, do you think this win by the Buffalo Bills kind of halted the Miami Dolphins hype train?
I don't think it halted the Dolphins hype train. People have to be realistic here. They put up 70 on the stinky Denver Broncos a week ago, and basically it was just a case of coming back down to earth. You're not gonna, just because you go against one opponent and break all historical scoring records for all intents and purposes, that type of output is not sustainable week after week after week. So they just fell back down to earth. They're gonna be okay. If you look at the Dolphins' schedule, 3 of the next 4 games, they should go 3-1. They lost to the Bills handedly, but the Bills were in Buffalo at home. Their next game is against the Giants, who obviously we've seen them in prime time, can't win a game to save their lives. Then they have the Panthers, both at home. They play the Eagles, which could go either way, and then they have the Patriots again. And 3 of those next 4 games are at home, where they have an advantage. 2 will be comfortable. So no, it doesn't halt the hype train. The case of whether they're better, whether the Bills are better than them, I think I'm not going to rush to judgment yet, because this is a new season, and both teams only have 1 loss, and there's plenty of football left to play. But as far as the hype train being slowed down, 3 out of 4 of their next opponents are cake matchups at home. They're going to be fine.
Yeah, they should be. And again, Dalton was mentioning earlier, or I think it was Adam actually mentioning earlier, that they're the fastest team in the NFL. And, you consider the fact that, look, obviously you mentioned the schedule. They do, after all, play the NFC East this season. We know there's some good teams in that division, some championship contenders in that division. And listen, they will be tested down the road. And it's, listen, the divisional familiarity is a real thing. We can argue about who's more talented, but, listen, when you talk about from a game plan perspective, from a quarterback perspective, I listen, I had to make my apology to Tua fans last week on my show. That doesn't make him better than Josh Allen. So, you give hats off to Josh and the Bills for.
But also one last point. If anybody thought that they were going to be a 70+ point scoring team per game after that game against the Broncos,
well, I mean,
you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah, but it's happened, I think, 3 times in the history of the NFL. That's just that. Yeah, it's not realistic. It's not going to happen. Finally, to you, Mike. I know you're a big time Josh Allen guy. Do you think what he did and what the Bills did to the Dolphins? Do you think this kind of halted the hype train to a certain degree?
To some extent, yeah. I think it. I think it has more to do with what Buffalo is than what Miami is. Because we could talk all day about how Miami's defense isn't very good and everything like that, and I think that that's going to plague them, as the season progresses. But it doesn't just say a lot about Buffalo, I think, or what Buffalo is now. I think it's a lot about what Buffalo could be. I mean, you look at their schedule. They've won the last 3 games by over 28 points apiece. I think if you look at their schedule going forward, you don't really, unless they lose to a sneaky game like to New England on the road or something like that, that's, in a couple of weeks away, I don't really see a loss on their schedule until about November 26th. When they play Philadelphia. So I'm thinking to myself, like, this was kind of the game for me where, after week 1, everybody knows that right now Buffalo's been excellent, but this was the game that was going to kind of solidify that, they are what they were last year, or even better than what they were last year. Obviously, I'm a huge Josh Allen guy. So, they rank among the teams that can obviously win the Super Bowl for me, but yeah, I'm with you. I think that this is a lot more to do with what Buffalo is right now than what Miami is. Miami's a great offensive team. I think their defense is going to struggle later on, but it's going to be a fun watch for the rest of the season. I'm with Dalton. I think I was kind of buying into Miami's hype train last week after the 70-point win. This looks like a very fun offensive team, but if they can't button up their defense, it's going to be a lot of trouble later on in the season.
They could be like the NFL's version of USC if you think about it. Obviously, Tua isn't quite as talented as Caleb Williams, but we know USC, the defensive struggles they're having, and the Dolphins have been exactly the same. Before we get to our point totals, we got a few comments here. Alonzo Diaz says, why is Alfred slandering the best team in New York? I don't think he was necessarily slandering them. I think he was bringing facts and objectivity. Alex Johnson, AJ of the Cowboys Can Fan Podcast, in representing, he said, sup. What's up, AJ? Again, had a great performance in the 8 o'clock spot just a couple weeks ago. Alonzo Diaz says the Giants are better than the Jets. That's no, they are not better than the Jets. Okay, that's stop. Can you score points? Can you score more than 3 points at home through the first 2 games? Is that too much to ask? Okay, let's relax on the Giants. Okay,
that's some comedy from Alonzo.
It's come on, man. With all due respect, Lonzo, you're the man, but no. Okay, let's get to our point totals thus far. Okay, Adam went first, so we'll go to Adam. Thought that was a great take by you, Adam. I thought, you were talking about how listen, it's a fast team in Miami. What Buffalo was able to do to kind of stop that from a defensive standpoint. And listen, Buffalo does have one of the better defenses. Heck, you could argue top 3, top 2 in the NFL in that regard. So great take by you. Dalton, I'm going to give you a great take as well. Interesting stat you brought up. I don't know if it's totally relevant from where they had this long winning streak dating back to 2018 because Tua's only been there since 2020. But when you listen, there's somewhat of a familiarity in terms of personnel. There's been players come in and coming out, but listen, we talked about winning streaks in college football with coaches and players that are long gone. So that's a fair point by you. Alfred, good take. The only reason I didn't give you a great take is because you were talking about how maybe the schedule for Miami, it's gonna sort of I guess speed it up a little bit. Solid good take by Alfred, but not a great one. And finally to Mike Guido, as I get his point total going here. There it is. Okay, Mike Guido, 200 points for you, sir. Again, great take on your part. Your belief in Josh Allen again. I try to love Josh Allen. It's very easy to do that today, but your belief is certainly being validated in a very big way right now. I just need to see him do it in the playoffs outside of 2021. Let's see. Barry says there's only one person I like on this show. I'm gonna take a wild guess and let's say that's probably Adam. Is that Barry? Again, the points leader, the wrench, so to speak, is trying to insert himself into the show. We're not gonna let you take over this in the comment section, Barry. We're not gonna let you do it. Okay. It's about the panelists. It's about the show. It's about you're not gonna not today. Okay, it's actually our first show without Barry, believe it or not. So we're gonna get it done today.